discovering what this person's map is that they've made of the actual territory that's there. And you're wanting to find out how they've made their map. Because isn't that interesting? Somebody can simply say to you, well, I enjoy that, or I don't like that, or something other, whatever. And then we don't have a way of moving forward with that conversation. We do have a way of moving forward with this conversation if you're able to find out the specifics. Okay, so the main thing is that the meta model is teaching us a way to be able to get information from the depth and bring it to the surface. Okay, so if somebody said, well, I really think we should have a democratic process here. So now we might not have any idea what this person's meaning specifically. So Jenny might ask them, well, what do you mean specifically about us being democratic? And then the person says, well, I think that the decision that the group makes will be more legitimate if I sense that we've all had opportunity to have some input. So that's specific. And that's telling us what this person's meaning by democracy. Democratic. Okay. We're going to be going over this tomorrow so that everybody's solid, and there's some exercises that we'll be doing so that everybody is solid on the meta model and how to use the meta model, and we are going to be using the meta model with each other, okay, as we learn some of these change techniques. Okay, so the meta model tonight. Okay, what about there's some exercises in the practitioner's manual, isn't there?
Let me ask one thing here.
Yeah.
Back to meta-programs. People seem to have different meta-programs. Where do they come from? And once we got them, are we stuck with them? Or is there something we can do to go to another one that works better? Or?
Okay, so where do meta-programs, the way that we sort information, where do they come from actually inside? That may be something that we're interested to talk about tomorrow. I think it's an excellent topic. Where they come from people who are modelling on the outside. They come from learned responses inside from beliefs that we have about various things.
Natural phenomena.
Somebody might not have a belief in God because they don't believe that the universe was created, but that the universe has always existed. And so there was no need for a role of thinking of a creator, actually. So that's this person's belief, actually. The way of sorting the information is coming from a belief that the person actually has inside. But anyway, I think that would you like to do a piece on that tomorrow?
Especially about whether the models change, and the ways we sort change according to language. With our language, which English is very left-brained, whereas Oriental language is very right-brained. They speak much more in metaphor and alliteration.
Yes.
Whereas with left-brain language, we're really geared toward categorization and sorting and time and things like that. And so do the models change according to language?
Yes, the programs are changing, depending on the idiosyncrasies of the culture and the ethnocentricity of the culture, yes.
Okay, so that would change right within every culture, like within each subgroup there would be a different way of going about, or there could be a different way. Like psychologists might sort in a certain way. Surfers, whose orientation is toward ocean and waves and how energy moves in the waves, would be another possibility of a total different orientation.
So maybe the people that are close to the earth, they have a meta program of sorting for the present, much more.
Right.
People who live in cities tend to be able to process a little bit more from the past, maybe. Maybe more orientated that way. Yes. So it's what's being modeled out there. That's one way they come to us. Okay. There's also some stuff on meta programs. Page 51 in the practitioner's manual. Which one? And what page 60?
You want the the exercise?
And then Ken said pages 60. On pages 60 of the Practitioner's Manual, there's a whole heap of exercises in counselling. So we're going to go over those exercises tomorrow, so it might be a good idea to kind of familiarise yourself a little bit with those exercises tonight.
People read the submodalities page to start to be familiar with it.
Where's that?
I think it's in there.
One more page that would be helpful for you to read is the page on submodalities.
What?
Where is that? That's actually...
It's in that one.
It's in the Practitioner's Manual?
Yeah, it's not in this one. I'm pretty sure it's about...
Yes, okay. On page 48. Has everybody got that? Okay, can someone repeat the pages back to us who's written them down?
48, 108, and 61.
51 and 60.
60. Say one more time.
What?
108, 108?
Yeah, 108 is
108 is the in that.
48,
48, 51.
Okay, page 108, page 51, pages 60. All right, we're going to be, once we hear the meta model, okay, we're going to have the opportunity to be using this right throughout, especially when we're learning the change pieces and that. The main thing is that the meta model is a language model that enables us to go from the general to the specific. And mostly English, the English language has afforded us the most intense ability to be abstract. And so the meta model is going from the general to the specific. So let's just talk for a moment about how it is that people arrive at a map. Because what I sense reality is might not be truly what the territory is. And so we're making maps. And there's various brain functions that enable us to be able to cope with the territory. Because as you know, if you were drawing a map, you couldn't possibly put every little nook and corner on the map, but that sometimes the line just more or less goes straight like this. And the reason why is so that we can handle large amounts of information, smoothly. So one way that people make maps is by generalising. This ability to be able to generalise. Because if you were unable to generalise, then you would always be overwhelmed when you would come to a door handle. Because you wouldn't have a clue, you'd have to figure it out, all right? And it's a nice thing that when you see a door handle, you can just generalise, oh yes, that's the way to open the door. Okay? So this is a process that helps us. However, it's also a process sometimes that can be grossly overused, where people are generalising. It's always, never. Yes. All. Yes. Okay. So. Okay. So people generalise to be able to make a map, okay, of the territory. This enables us to be able to function, and sometimes generalisation is intensely overused, okay? So we are truly trying to find out actually what the territory is and to make sure that the map that we have is as close approximation of reality of the territory as possible. And this meta model is a way to disclose what the map is and get at what the territory is. So another way that we are able to make a map is by distortion, deletion. I'm going to use deletion first. So for instance, the way that you are sitting in the feeling of your clothes on your skin might not be important to what it is that we're talking about here. So, all of that information is deleted. So we have this ability to be able to delete material, to cope, in fact. And so some people are leaving out stuff incredibly as a result. and that their map is not an accurate representation of reality, because maybe they are leaving out important information. So somebody says, I only get along with men and I really don't get along very well with women. So now there's a number of things going on there, right? There's generalization and there's probably deletion too. Then I would say, well, isn't there any women that you really get along with? Is there been a time when you've really got along with a woman? And the person thinks, well, yes. Okay, so now their generalisation has left them with an impoverished map, and because they've deleted that moment where they really were getting along with a woman, that it's created an impoverishedness. It's impoverished their map. So we're going to be learning in a moment skills to be able to recover this lost information. Okay, so now we have general ways we make maps is by being able to generalise. Another way that we make map is by being able to delete information. And another way that we're able to make map is to be able to construct. And this is what in the meta model is called distortion. So the benefit of being able to distort is that we're able to fantasize and you're able to construct something. I might not quite be able to see what's in the body, but I can allow my feeling senses, I can use my feeling senses and my sense of vision of what it is that's there to construct truly what it is that's happening at the atomic level inside the person even. So being able to fantasize, being able to imagine, these are all useful for us, and this is what's called distortion. So now distortion also again can be leaving a person with an impoverished map, because truly the reality to the person may actually be involving some degree of distortion of the actual territory. Somebody who says, well, I've never got along with women before, this person I'm sensing probably that's a distortion actually. That would be very interesting to me, that this person had never got along with women. That would be quite strange to me. Okay, so there's three ways that we make a map. One is through generalising. The other is through being able to leave some information out, and the other is through distortion. So let's say, for instance, we're going to talk about nominalizations first. What is a nominalization? Okay, so it's a word which is actually describing some process, but kind of talking about it like it's an object. Okay.
Relationship.
Yeah. So so use that in a way.
I enjoy relationships, with social relationships.
I enjoy my relationship. Okay. Now if there was a reason to go below the surface to find out, uncover information, this is when you use the meta model. You use the meta model to actually, when there's a need to disclose information. So I feel excellent about my relationship. Maybe there's not a need to go further, but there may be. What if I really needed to know what specifically about the relationship is it that I enjoy? So I gain information on the specifics. So then you would. So my relationship is talking about the process of the way that we are together, as if it were something like an object. So it's turning any process into a noun. Okay, that's what a nominalization is. We love it when people are sensory specific and are telling us actually what they're talking about. We love this. And most of the time when someone is using a nominalization, relationship or freedom or democracy.
Poverty.
You know, sometimes that's helpful to us too, that they use a nominalisation, because this enables us to intuitively understand what it is the person's talking about. So the times that when you will use the meta model, truly it is because there's a need to discover what is below the surface here. Okay?
So sometimes it's efficient and it's okay.
Yes, to nominalise. Yes. So, for instance, I can build credibility with you if I'm able to use a nominalisation as a hypnotist, because if I'm saying specifics, then it's possible that those are the specifics that's happening for me, but not you. But if I say, and as you move through this now, I sense that we're building a firm base that will enable a way to see through these moments like this in the future. See, now I've not said anything, right? But I mean, there's just full of nominalisations, right, which enables a person to attach to their ongoing experience the meaning. Okay, so now that's the Milton model, and we're going to be talking about the Milton model, okay, at some point.
So if somebody were trying to make a business deal, it would be better not to talk in nominalizations.
Sometimes, and sometimes, you know, it's okay that you say that let's make sure that we handle this deal, you know, today. You know, rather than having to go into what the deal is, it enables us the ease, because both of us know what the deal is.
But allowing the nominalizations, it's a way to set up a rapport.
Yes, because the person can attach to their ongoing experience the meaning. However, you wouldn't be in rapport with someone who, if you were using nominalisation, they were trying to figure out what you were
No, I was
talking about.
thinking in terms of
Yeah.
if the client comes in and they're talking, instead of saying, wait a minute, what are you talking about right now? If you allow their conversation and nod with their nominalizations, and then later on is when you can approach what it is that they're really talking about.
So, for instance, somebody like L. Ron Hubbard, if you listen to some of those tapes, they're full of nominalizations. It's very difficult for someone truly to understand what the meaning, what I would sense, what I would experience, because it's very abstract. He uses a lot of nominalizations, a lot of universal quantifiers, missing referential indexes. Okay, we're going to go over these things now. Lost performative, where you haven't got a clue how the thing happened actually. Okay.
I've heard tapes of people channeling things. And I've noticed in these tapes lots of nominalizations.
Lots of nominalizations, yes, incredibly. And actually the information's coming more from the right hemisphere. Okay? That's coming, you know, and actually sometimes I'll draw out something that comes from my unconscious, my intuition, and it comes out in nominalizations. And then I go back over and actually start to put verbs in and truly bring it down to an action level. So somebody who's using a lot of nouns, using quite a bit of their right hemisphere. Someone who's using a lot of verbs is using their left hemisphere. And it's a good idea to use nouns and verbs. If you are using nouns and verbs, then you're creating whole brain functioning. Okay? So what is a nominalisation? Give me an example of a nominalisation.
Communication is important.
Okay. The communication. You know, making it a noun, because it could be an unspecified, being used as an unspecified verb. Okay. All right. So now there's 4 things. If you can remember these 4 questions, you'll really be doing well. It's what, when, who. That's actually 5, isn't it? Who, what, when, where, how. Who, what, when, where, how's 5. Okay, so you could say they felt. Okay, so now what would be the challenge?
Who felt?
Yeah, you know this, Johnny.
Communication.
All right. What would be the challenge if I said they are feeling happy now? Someone.
Who's feeling happy about what?
Who specifically? Who is feeling happy specifically, and about what? Okay. So now let's. So when you are not knowing what the noun is, that's what's called the missing referential index. We're not knowing who it is that they did that. Okay, so if somebody said they did that, okay, now what's going on there? They, missing referential index, and did.
Nominalization.
Did, what is did? An unspecified verb, because we don't know because what did they do? Did? Okay, they did that. Okay, now what is that?
Nominalization.
Right, that's a nominalisation. Okay? Alright, so there's quite a few violations there. And so that we are learning skills at being able to go below the surface. So those 5 words are really helpful. Who, what, when, where, how. Who, what, when, where, how. Okay. Alright. Alright, so now I'll give you another one. Okay, listen for it. No one wants me. So now, it's very interesting. Just before you get into this, isn't that interesting, you see? No one wants me. Now, if somebody's saying this, that's just nominal. It's just like, you know what I mean? And that enables the person to say that, right? Because if they truly were understanding of this model, it would be difficult for them to say something like that. And people can get away with crazy stuff, you know, on this abstract level, which has got nothing to do with reality, actually the real world. All right, so when I say nobody wants me, how can you challenge that? What can you do to bring this into, what is it that's going on here?
Who specifically?
Who doesn't want it?
How do you want to be born?
How do you?
Okay, so actually,
It's a white slave.
okay.
Who specifically doesn't want you?
Okay, so now that's the first one, all right? When I say nobody wants me, you might challenge that and you say nobody? Yeah, you might say, because that's a generalisation first, nobody. Okay, so you might challenge the generalisation first, but the main thing is nobody. If you wanted to know who nobody was, then you would ask the question, who?
Who specifically doesn't want you?
Okay, now what's another question that you could ask? If you knew who the person was,
Who would you like to want you?
maybe, but the main thing is, if we're just dealing with this, we've first of all found out who it is that doesn't want me.
How?
Okay.
How do
Right.
you know that?
Yes, because there's an unspecified verb,
Or mind reading.
and there's also a missing performative, because we don't know how it is that nobody wants me.
Yeah.
How specifically nobody wants me.
Or how would they?
They don't want me, putting graffiti all over the wall or something. Well, then that's fair enough.
Would you ask somebody, if somebody wanted you, how would they do that? Like, find out what that want me means to them. What does want me mean?
Nobody wants me.
Yeah, would you ask them?
What does want me to do?
Yeah, what? What is
Loving me, enjoying enjoying what I do. No, most people are familiar kind of with what wanting is, except if you are sensing, well, something's a little strange here about how this person's using that word, then you would go underneath.
Well, the day I was thinking when I asked you about jealousy, do we create some of these negative emotional states through this vagueness in our...
Yes, all of these negativity is correct. If we are able to do this because we can do this stuff that's abstract. Because if we couldn't do this stuff that's abstract, it would be much more difficult for us truly to kind of distort reality. Because mostly when this stuff occurs, it does occur because there's distortion, or there's generalization, or there's deletion occurring. And the person may have an impoverished representation. Okay? All right, okay.
Was it a third factor when you said me? What part of me? My body,
Oh, okay. Someone said,
emotionally?
do you want me? and we were trying to figure out what it is about the person that they're asking about. What is it specifically about you that you are asking us about wanting? You know. But anyway, the main thing is you would use who, what, when, where, how, okay, to get more specific information if that was needed. And hopefully when you're asking a question, you are leading the person toward a map that's an accurate representation of the territory. That's what you are trying to do. That's what you are doing. Okay? If someone said, "Oh, he rides the bike easily," right? So now he rides the bike easily. We are not knowing how specifically this person rides the bike that it ends up being easy, and so there's a missing performative, because easily is the performant. This is a word which is describing the performance. Okay, so how specifically does he ride the bike easily would give you the information on the performance. Sometimes when somebody's using a noun, a nominalisation, you can turn the nominalisation into a verb, make it an action word. So if Ned said the communication that occurred was easy, the communication, I would turn that the communication, which is a normalisation, into a verb. And I would say, how specifically in communicating was this easy, or is this easy, or something. Okay, so I'd turn the noun into a verb. Now, you know, you're going to have the opportunity to go through this in the manual, and there's some exercises that we're going to do in a moment. Okay, so
how is that, the word that, a nominalization?
Okay, so it, yes, actually that's a good.
Or the word,
Yeah.
in the book, the word problem was a nominalization.
Say that again.
In the book, they use the word problem.
Yes, problem. The problem with what we're doing. I mean, that's a normalisation, because that's not telling us what it is actually. Okay, so the main thing is that people get away with things like crazy, right? When they can speak in an abstract way. Whew! It's amazing. You could sit at the dinner table and someone really can say some stuff that's just like, you know, and you haven't got a clue truly what the meaning of it is, okay? And now it's, you know, you have the skills to be able to go below the surface. Okay.
Seems like the medical model is a little bit based on this kind of communication, the Western medical paradigm, because they look at pathology and they look at a problem, and it's like if they would continue to truly investigate sensory specifically the condition, I don't think that paradigm ever would have developed.
Yes, mainly.
They give it a name and then they think they know what it is, and then they take the name and they give you the name back, and then you've got a name and then they tell you what that name means. But if they would continue to investigate sensory specifically each condition, heat and cold, and tired and awake, and does that make sense?
Yes. The one thing is objective observations are highly valued by our society, meaning that observation without the observer, and I would say subjective observations truly is where it's at. So something being objective would be that we're not considering the person in the lab coat. What what we value highly are observations that are objective, meaning that observations that are not including the observer. So this is all about actually subjective experience.
Were the observations included and not included observer? Or the person yourself, like I'm observing something.
So subjective observations are bringing the observer in. So that's part of the reason why, the medical world nominalizes. Another reason is because they're involved in counting incredibly. And it's led people to kind of try to separate everything out, And actually it's only, been around for about 2,500 years really. It's, it was really given to us by the Hindu Babylonian sects, this counting. And actually the West went one way and the East kind of went another way. Not so interest involved in counting too much actually. The West went really kind of counting crazy and try to separate, and to count you've actually got to separate things to be able to count them, and many things. There's not such a way to study something like, for instance, somebody's lying in hospital bed, and here the doctors are measuring this person's blood pressure, measuring their urine analysis, measuring the amount of blood cells, measuring the person's temperature, changing the person's dressings, and performing all of those, the urine analysis and stuff like that, right? Meanwhile, so now these are all things that the doctors can count. Meanwhile, the person's internal contracted sense of time about life, much more the cause probably of the illness than anything else, totally goes unnoticed. Because most of these doctors got their doctorate by counting something, and the internal contracted sense of time is not so much something that you can count. So that's something that's possibly completely overlooked. Well, anyway, there's some gross problems present in society as a result of this madness that's about counting, and it's a little off balance. But anyway, the university is starting to recognise this more and more today, and they're even developing subjects called qualitative research as opposed to quantitative research.
Wow, where are they doing that?
All the updated universities.
For all subjects, you can have qualitative research?
Well, the most traditional subjects still, they're trying to figure out a way to qualitatively study things. But actually it's more and more coming into vogue because people are realising the gross limitation of learning some statistical technique and then looking around to find something that will fit the statistical technique, that they can do their research and get their doctorate, basically. That's the major way people get doctorates.
So in something like in the humanities, it would be easier to have qualitative research. Not easier, but more applicable.
Oh, something, people are wanting to count things even in this field. They want to do a survey and the person's going, yes, they're going, yes, yes, and everybody's looking at this piece of paper, and of course, somebody can be saying yes, and shaking their head saying no. And then they're limited, to what it was that's actually written, which might not be a representation at all. Actually, what the person's,
Johnny asked something yesterday that I think is interesting. Is where does this overuse of the meta model in our language? Well, overuse, that's a judgment, but the use of it to the extent that people generalize so much. The thing that occurred to me was that I was having a negative emotion today. And I really looked at the negative emotion. I asked myself specifically some things about it. I asked David, I said, what do you think about this negative emotion, blah, blah. And he said, well, usually it's a big generalization. The person's making pictures in their mind, blah, blah, blah. So I started thinking about it. And I wonder how much of what we do with using language like this creates our reality to such an extent.
Yes, it does.
And then we're taught, or there's a backup system from other people's realities like this, and then pretty soon there's like this mass agreement that this is reality, and pretty soon it's like you go, oh, I'm having this negative emotion, and it's real. And then I thought, how real is it if I can ask a few questions and it...
Yes, I mean, all of a sudden, they're witches. Now, what are witches exactly? I mean, all of a sudden there was consensus that there are these witches, and all this stuff starts happening around witches. And what behavior would it be really that makes a witch?
Well, why would certain thoughts magnetize energy towards them too, like we were talking about last night? Thoughts actually magnetize our...
Okay, emotions are involving a magnetic energy. Emotions are involving the weakest field force. Out of the 4 field forces in the grand unified theory in physics, the weakest force, which has effect over the longest distance, is what we call the gravitons. And just for a moment, if you could imagine that in 1/32 million zeros of a second in the formation of the universe, this universe, that within that 1/32 millionth of a second, everything was so hot that everything was moving away from itself, everything was radiating with an energy, and everything was moved apart completely. And then after 1/32 millionth of a second went by, everything cooled, or started to cool a fraction, and the first particles, the gravitons, came together. And that's what's forming the drawing of the energy of holding everything together, more or less. And the emotions are involving this energy. This is faster than the speed of light. This is on a plane of which we are connected. And the main thing is that emotions are involving this magnetic energy. So it's somebody who is really kind of can be depressed for like a long time. These people are really excellent at being able to hold their state constant for a long period of time, right?
They've mastered it.
Yes, they have mastered it. The main thing is that emotion is sometimes difficult to shake, and the reason why is because emotion is magnetic. So a smile attracts a smile, and even if, like the yogis, have a sense of they're doing their things during the day, and they have this thought, an image of an inner smile. No matter what they're doing, they have this thought of an image of an inner smile, and it's activating aspects of this person, bringing a degree of blissfulness really to the most simplest things that the person's doing.
So is that graviton, that's fast moving compared to the other fields?
Yes, it's right inside the nucleus of the atom. It's right inside.
It's the weakest, so it falls first.
This is weak force that holds the nucleus together.
Right. There's other forces. There's a weak nuclear force. Then there's a strong nuclear force, and there's electromagnetic energy.
And then there's radioactivity.
Yes. Okay. Now, where? Okay.
Model out to physics and then back again to nothing. I mean,
Never expansion at all.
we're going to talk about
just let someone else just step right.
The second one,
That 1/300.
32 million.
They counted, right?
They counted? Good.
Yes.
They measured it.
And now I'm like...
Okay. One more thing, just on that. While we're here still. Today, in physics, this is absolute. That it's an antiquated concept to think that somebody created the universe. Because if that's true, then the universe had to have a beginning. And in physics we know today this is not true. That what is true is that this is for all time, and this is always existing. Our universe came into being, of course, from something that already existed, that is existing. And God, there's ways of using this word where truly it has meaning for us, this word. And also too, there can be ways people are using this word, and it may be their model of this, the use of the word may be limiting them. If it's creating if it's involving an external force that's outside the person, then sometimes the person's sensing the disconnection of self from this. But anyway, the main thing is that I think that we are connected to all things, and that there's a use of this word God, absolutely, that this is the meaning for me synonymous with life, and I believe in life. Okay, so all right, let's turn to page 60 in the practitioner's manual. I have somebody's. Is that yours, Jim?
In the purple one. This is the purple one.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So I'll have Ned do the first one. So Ned, what would you do here? Somebody says nobody pays any attention to what I say.
Did you say something?
That would be good. That would be excellent, really. All right. Let's go on to the next one, because that truly has just captured that one. No. Okay, so how would you challenge that?
Say who?
You might challenge it because it's a generalization, nobody. You might say nobody, or you might say, doesn't anybody pay attention to you? Nobody. Okay, so...
I'm paying attention to you.
All right, okay, good. All right, what
Yeah, I
about...
think that's a good one too, to say something like that.
Okay, what?
You know, I'm paying attention to you.
Okay, that's excellent. That's challenging their generalization.
Right.
Okay. All right, here, challenge this generalization. Terry. One should respect others' feelings.
Feelings about what?
What do you mean by respect?
Excellent. That would get it. That would get at some stuff. Yes. All right. That would be pretty good.
Some stuff.
Some stuff. Yes. All right, Ginger.
Wouldn't you also ask on this one specifically who is the one and whose feelings? I mean, there's so much in that one.
Yes, there's quite a bit going on there.
You
But the main thing is to challenge the generalization.
Everybody should respect everybody.
Okay, so what is this one? That's missing referential index, right? Respect others' feelings. Respect is an unspecified verb. We're not sure what the meaning of respect is. So that was the challenge, the generalization challenge that Terry came to. Others. Who specific? There's a missing referential index. Others. And feelings. What is a normalization? What specifically about feelings? Okay. All right. Okay. Ginger. The teacher is always arguing with me.
Can you always?
Yes. Okay. That would challenge the generalization. Okay. All right, we're just challenging the generalizations here. All right, D. It's impossible to trust anyone. It's challenge the generalization. It's impossible to trust anyone.
Impossible?
Excellent. Okay. Excellent. All right. Or you could ask the question.
Who do you want to trust?
Isn't there anybody that you've trusted? Okay.
Have you trusted?
Okay, so that's also challenging the generalization. All right. Okay. Tanya, she's always demanding attention.
How is he always demanding attention?
Okay. Oh, okay. So now actually, that's not so much. That may get to the challenge of the generalization. But I said this. Look, she always demands attention.
Always?
Okay. So you would highlight always, maybe, or that you might ask it another way. You might say, well, isn't there any time that she is not demanding attention? Is there a moment when you've sensed where she hasn't been demanding attention? Okay. If I wanted to make the statement, she hasn't been demanding attention, I would